Most of us go through life believing we know who we are. We think our identity is based on our name, job, relationships, and experiences. But what if the idea of a fixed self isn't real? What if it's just something we made up? In Buddhism, there's a teaching called no self, or Anatta, which tells us that the self we believe in is just an illusion. If there's no permanent me, then who are we really? And how can understanding this idea change our lives for the better? In today's video, we'll explore this important idea. We'll look at how our sense of self is formed, why we hold on to it so tightly, and what happens when we let go of it. What is no self? What does it mean? The idea of no self in Buddhism means that there isn't a single, unchanging me inside us. We often think there's a solid self that makes us who we are, but Buddhism teaches that everything about us, our thoughts, feelings, and bodies are always changing. We are like a moving river. It's still called a river, but the water in it is always flowing and changing. Think of a smartphone app. Apps constantly get updates to fix bugs or add new features. The app is still called by the same name, but it's always changing. In the same way, we keep changing too. Our thoughts, feelings, and even our bodies aren't exactly the same from one moment to the next. If there is no self, then who are we? If there's no fixed self, you might wonder who you are. Buddhism says that we are like a collection of parts that are always changing. Our body, feelings, thoughts, and awareness come together, but none of them stays the same. We exist as a process, not as a solid thing. Imagine it like a recipe. Ingredients come together to make a dish, but they aren't permanent. They change when cooked, and they will change again when eaten. Think of a sports team. The players, coaches, and strategies change, but the team still has the same name. The team isn't one fixed thing. It's the people and actions coming together and changing over time. Similarly, we are made up of parts that keep changing, and we are the process, not just one fixed me. How does the concept of no self help us reduce suffering and stress? Clinging to a fixed self can lead to pain. We often feel stressed or unhappy when we lose things like status, money, or relationships because we think they're part of who we are. If we understand no self, we can see that everything changes and nothing stays the same forever. This helps us let go of our tight grip on things. When we let go, we feel more peaceful, even when things don't go our way. Let's say you post a picture on social media and don't get as many likes as you hoped. If you base your self-worth on those likes, you might feel sad or stressed. But if you realize that likes don't define you and they're just temporary numbers that come and go, you won't feel as upset. You'll understand that these things don't have anything to do with your true value. Why do we cling to the idea of a self? We cling to the idea of a self because it's something we've been taught since we were kids. Society often tells us to think about who we are or what we want to be, so it feels natural to believe in a fixed self. It's also a natural reaction to want to hold onto something solid because it makes us feel secure. But Buddhism says this is actually a misunderstanding. Our self is like a story we tell ourselves, but it isn't real or fixed. Think about believing in Santa Claus as a child. It felt real and exciting, but as you grew up, you learned it was just a story. In the same way, the idea of a fixed self is like a story we hold on to. As we learn and grow, we can see that this story isn't permanent or true. How can we practice the idea of no self in daily life? Practicing no self means we start noticing that our thoughts and feelings are always changing. We don't hold on to any one thought or feeling as being me. We watch them come and go like clouds in the sky. This helps us stay calm and open, even when things are tough. We learn not to take things too personally because we know that everything, including our emotions, changes. Imagine someone gives you a hard time at work and you start to feel upset. Instead of thinking, "I'm not good enough," or "this is my fault," you can remind yourself that this feeling is just a temporary reaction. It doesn't define you. It's like a wave in the ocean. Sometimes there are big waves and sometimes there are small ones, but the ocean itself remains the same. If you see your feelings as temporary waves, you won't feel overwhelmed and you'll stay calm. By understanding no self in these simple terms, we learn to let go of the idea that we are fixed, unchanging beings. We realize that everything is in a state of flow, and this helps us navigate life with more flexibility, calm, and peace. We become less attached to the things that normally make us stressed or unhappy because we see that they're all temporary and not truly who we are.